Taylor Lewan, I didn't expect that, especially with being when you're a vocal person, right? Which he is. He has his own podcast, Bussin' with the Boys. It does well. Maybe you'll dip. I mean, Julian Edelman had one last year. He ended up being Super Bowl MVP. I mean, who knows?
He said he didn't know that he took it or whatever it was. He said he didn't know, and then he said he took a polygraph test that proved that he didn't know.
By the way, very real thing that I think the NFL is wrong about is they say you are responsible for whatever you put in your body. We would also like you to be faster. We'd also like you to be stronger. We'd like you to do all these things that supplements could potentially help. But supplements aren't FDA approved. So you can take a supplement one day. It's good. And then that factory just so happens to get tainted with something somewhere, wherever it's being thing. You take the same supplements with the same ingredients on the side of the thing, and all of a sudden, boom, you fail a test. That is really possible. I'm not sure if this is what happened or what happened with other guys, but it is a real thing because they're not FDA approved. So those things can have whatever they want. They don't have to have any marketing on the outside at all. They do it to make you feel as if they're doing something. But those supplements do help. You got guys that are trying to get faster, bigger, stronger, everything like that, and then they're told, yeah, man, just kind of a roll of the dice, though, what you put in your body. We have zero pool for that. And then they tried to take care of it with this app where if it was NFLPA approved, so if the supplement was NFLPA approved, you could put it on like a little square thing where it would read the number in the app, and then it would give you like a green light or a red light, right? It would give you like a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And the only things that got thumbs up were like, okay, fiber to make you shit. We got this, like nothing that really had anything in it. And it was companies that were probably just paying for their shit to be okay. Right. So it never really caught on with the players because the players were like, well, the only thing that's okay is just like special Kellogg's. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Because you guys could be taking like just like normal ass pre-workout, and you don't know if that fucking brand slipped something in there that's illegal for you.
Well, and that brand might not know it either because they're doing it from a factory that could potentially have to make a new product, and it accidentally just gets on the thing. You have no idea.
And they're not worried about the limited. I mean, that's a very small market or inactive NFL players, so they're not worried about if their recipe interferes with your job or not. They just know what everybody in the gym likes.
I think there's been a couple lawsuits from NFL players that have taken a supplement because they hand over the supplement to the testers too. Like I think there's even a whole process of handing over, here's the supplement that I took, and then they go and grab a couple other ones that seem to be around that same time. So I do think there's some investigating that happens because I think there's been some lawsuits that happen. But I think that is a tough thing for players to have to deal with. I mean, you got guys that are just trying to get better. And then if they accidentally take the wrong pre-workout that they've been taking for 15 years, all of a sudden, boom, they're suspended 4 games. And their image, not so much now as it was then. Back in the day, it used to be tainted. Your image was ruined if you failed something. Now it's like becoming like a much more woke society where they're like, oh, the guy probably didn't know he took Adderall. Yeah, he's probably in Vegas. Yeah. He's got 4 days. I feel like that's starting to become more prevalent. But the supplement game for pro athletes is a scary one. It really is. And I'm assuming that what Taylor did is exactly that. He was taking something, had no idea what was in it. That's why the polygraph thing is like, yeah, he feels probably a little validated. You know what I mean?
So after you fail a drug test, automatically you take a polygraph?
No, I think he said he would.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
I don't
know if he said he would or he said he did.
He might have offered it up, like everybody on Maury. You know, no, I'll take a polygraph, father. I'll take a polygraph because it is frustrating.
Yeah,
because he's not getting paid those 4 checks. He's not allowed to be in the facility. You train your ass off all off season, then you only get 16 games anyway. So now they're taking away 4 of those games, especially if you're a Pro Bowler because
he's a leader of that.
A leader of the team, everything. Yeah. It sucks whenever you get suspended, and he's probably very upset. Like, well, I've been doing the same thing I've been doing for fucking 10 years. What do you want me to do about it? And then they're like, oh well, it's not. It's your responsibility to know what's going in your body. It's like, what do you want me to do? Fly to the factory? What do you want me to do? You know what? That's what I'll do. I'll fly to the factory and I'll do a little finger test and I'll make sure there's nothing in there that could potentially set off some meth bombs.
So what happens? They just send you an email like, by the way, you can't have B vitamins.
What do you mean?
Like for like pills and stuff. Like if you're taking a supplement and then like next week that supplement's you're not able to take it anymore. So like how do they update you as a player?
Oh, you get a list at the beginning of every season.
And most people just like look right past it.
But it's going to be
stuff that you don't know
tiny
what the
little
fuck it
ingredient within that supplement that they're not listing on the bottle.
They're not listed. So guys know the supplements, the things that are not allowed in their body.
Yeah.
Guys know their bodies, especially people that are in the NFL, have been in the NFL for a long time. Guys, they say know what's going in your body. I would argue that professional athletes are trying their best to know everything that's going in their body because just like the fucking deer stuff, the deer antler stuff that Ray Lewis, right? That wasn't being tested for, but somebody came up to him and said, hey, this definitely helps with this. Yeah. So is it illegal what he did? No, I think, but that you could prove that Ray Lewis knows what's going in his body better than anybody else. He's like, well, I know this shit isn't getting tested for. And then as soon as it got started tested for, he stopped taking it. And I know a lot of people bury Ray Lewis for assortment of things, and that thing he was kind of getting a bad rap for a little bit. But as somebody who never took supplements but respected people that did, I think that was him just doing everything he could to get better. And
got no problem with that.
Yeah, exactly. And when they tested it, he stopped taking it. But guys look for everything that's on that list. You have to. And most people, not most people, but some guys have nutritionists who put shit together for them too. It's very interesting. It's an interesting thing the way people get their bodies to peak performance. It's like Instagram. I don't know how those dudes all look the way they look on Instagram.
They don't have any fun.
No fun. No.
They're all smiling in their pictures.
Oh, are they?
Four smiles.
Let me ask you this.
Have you ever seen that many six packs then on Instagram?
No.
I saw a person with
sorry,
8-pack.
Tom, but everybody on Instagram has a fucking 8-pack.
It's sick.
It makes no sense.
Because their oil princes are making them fucking smile. And they fly them over to
Oil princes.
I don't think that's how it works.
Who is driving all right, so someone is always investigating and identifying new performance enhancing substances. Right? So like the general public, the fans, everybody else would be happy. Like, all right, I think you're covering most of everything we know about. And now you're adding things we don't even know what they are. Who's driving that?
Do you know why that
research?
is? You know why that is, right? That's because the wealthy players who have these doctors who can get them around the rules, they're benefiting from it where other players who can't afford to do the research can't, right? So you have like the guys who have their nutritionists and dietitians and scientists working on their bodies in the off season. Those guys are always trying to find something that isn't being tested for that they can take, and that's considered a performance enhancement.
I'm not saying this is the case with him, but let's just because he's the number one quarterback in the league. Let's say Tom Brady, and he's a vet and he's older. So say you're the number one quarterback in the league. You have more money than most everybody else, and you're starting to age, so you can afford good science to work around all these things.
The TB12
it would benefit
treatment.
you to lobby to get all these other substances that you have to get through supplements and shit to get those added to the list.
No, I would say that Tom might know something.
Correct.
Or Tom's people might know something. I'm not saying this ever, but I'm saying for the sake of what Todd and I are talking about, his people would know something that could do something to your body, right? So Tom is benefiting from it. And then other people would see that and be like, oh, well, Tom's benefiting from creatine. Let's say creatine, back whenever creatine was a big problem. Only a couple people knew about creatine being muscle performance enhancer or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it became banned there for a little bit because only a few people knew about it, not everybody.
So that's how it's making the list.
Yes.
Like when McGuire
That's
put
what happened.
Andro.
That's what happened with Balco. Like, because those players can afford that science and to be able to do that.
Okay, so they're driving the creation of the new substances.
Correct.
That makes sense, and that's why they're adding the list because somebody big time starts using it.
Yes.
So it gets notoriety. But
or
then,
maybe not even big time. Maybe I have a friend who's a scientist and I'm a rookie. And I have a friend who's like a weird chemist or something. I come from a weird school. I'm a tight end, and my friend's a chemist. And he fucking can somehow come up with some potion or something mixture that makes my testosterone get raised, blah, blah, blah. And it is all natural. They can't test for it, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
That would be an interesting situation, right?
Sure.
Because nobody else can use it.
But probably nobody would notice unless you were performing exceptionally well.
Well, then I think that's what could happen, right? And then people are like, well, how's this guy doing it? And all he does is tell somebody like, oh, I got this guy that does this. And then that guy tells somebody. And then they're like, all right, this is now banned because nobody else has it.
Okay, so that's what's driving what makes the list.
In
that's
my
a
head.
Beautiful explanation. No, it has to be how it happens. But then who's driving the people behind wanting those new things on the list? You know what I mean? Like who's like, we don't have enough things on the list. We have to constantly strive. At what point do you like, stop? I don't give a shit anymore if that person found something brand new. I already know the HGH and all the big ones. We got them identified.
Nobody's ever failed an HGH test, by the way, in the NFL.
But like I already know the big ones, right? So Why do I give a shit that there's a brand new one that only 3 people know about? Why do I care if that gets on the list?
Well, I think it's because the equality, the fairness of the sport.
Yeah, but who's the body?
Players, NFLPA maybe?
NFLPA, the NFL front office people probably. I mean, if that player isn't on your team, that is, like, think about the business, right? Think about the business and all the billionaires sitting around with all their lawyers around them. And it comes out that somebody on the New York Jets, their team, 3 of their players have this new thing, okay? That gets mentioned somehow in the owners' meetings. If you're Irsay or Irsay's guys, you're like, well, wait a fucking minute. Like, how come they're the only team that can use that? And that's definitely helping their team. I would assume that's
so. There's not like a government body or some health-crazed entity that's associated
Dr. Brown
with it.
is a guy who's the head of the substance of abuse and I believe the performance-enhancing thing. His name's Dr. Brown. And he heads a team of piss testers and all that stuff and everything like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But it is another... I mean, it's a whole big operation now. I mean, they tested me, 8 times a month for 27 months, and I'm not the only person that tested. There's a lot of piss getting collected at all times. And the HGH test got added because it was the new thing. Everybody's saying, everybody's taking HGH, everybody's recovering faster, blah, 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 they're getting stronger. They're like, all right, we'll start testing for HGH. Then they learned that the baseline for HGH amongst professional athletes and amongst humans that they were getting the baseline from, like, very different. But they couldn't back out of testing because they said they were going to test it. Nobody has failed for HGH. I have not heard a single human fail for HGH. And I think they're testing, and that's almost to a point where it's like, are you really just drawing blood just to figure out, like, hey, we are testing for HGH? Or is there any way to even test for it? They don't even know if they can actually test for it,
That's
I think.
incredible.
Now, I don't know the behind the scenes of it. Maybe nobody's taking it. But it just feels as if the big argument was, well, they don't know what their growth hormone levels are versus professional athletes' growth hormone levels because it could be different. Obviously, we're bigger than most people.
That could make a lot of sense.
Yeah, so if any fail happens, I think the NFL sees like, oh, this is going to be a massive... This would be a massive war, but we still have to test for it to say we test for it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's very interesting, the game. But you got to remember, there's some athletes that will do absolutely anything to get an advantage.
And I would assume there's a lot of incentive financially if you're the guy who did come up with that privately for one person to approach some big-ass high-dollar supplement company and be like, hey, I got this thing you can add to your formula there.
Or
bang.
The gym rats are going to go crazy over it.
Or just 10 other of the highest paid NFL players, and they'll get in your program, and that's what happened in MLB.
And then the word gets out.
Yeah, but athletes are trying to get to the top no matter what. So that's where the money comes from. That's where everything comes from.
That's why they're the best.
They're at the top. Yeah. And by the way, if they play you in chess, they're probably going to flip the board if you're anywhere near checkmate. It's just a different level of competitive human being. And I'm not saying everybody's Lance Armstrong or everybody's like that, but we can assume that in professional sports across all walks of life, those are probably the most competitive individuals that we have on this earth.
Yes.
If we had to guess. And competitive people will do what they got to do to win. There's different levels to competition and competitive levels, but boy, some of the humans I've seen, it's...
Those and business owners who make it big.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're cutthroat, man. You know what I mean? Those humans are just a different level.